Drone Racing League Simulator. Does this simulator game capture the joys of flying, or does it crash and burn before barely getting off the ground? Will it make you feel like a professional drone pilot, or set your head spinning like a broken propeller? Stick around if you're interested in finding out if this game is worth your time and money. We've played it so you don't have to. My name's Dad and welcome to D&D Gaming. Joining me in this review as always is my brother Dav. So Dav, what are your expectations before playing this one?
This is one of those games where it kind of says what it is on the tin, and so it was just what I was expecting really. There's not much else to say.
Yeah, I figured this would be exactly as the name suggests, and I was right. It is literally a drone racing simulator game.
So in terms of graphic options, there's a smattering of graphic settings you can tweak. Not bad for a simulator type game, which rarely have many graphic options, I guess.
There is a decent range of options from the usual texture quality and anti-aliasing to post-processing effects such as motion blur and depth of field. Certainly enough options to tweak to your liking.
So in terms of graphics and graphics performance, well, we'll put our PC specs up on screen as usual, but the game ran well on my PC. I ran on the highest setting and didn't notice any graphical issues. The graphics themselves are fairly typical of a simulator type game of its sort, nothing special but not bad either, I guess. In terms of environments, I thought these were really good. There's a ton of maps which range from stadiums to airports, from parks to a car garage, all very convincing and nice looking environments, lots of obstacles to fly over, under, through or avoid as the case may be. The game lighting is good with maps that are in the daytime outside, others that are indoors and much darker with only hints of lighting.
The game ran well on my system with no noticeable frame drops or stuttering. The graphics are relatively basic, but about as I expected from a simulator game. You can tell they put most of their development effort into the physics, as you'd expect them to if they called it a simulator game. Compared to many simulator games though, I thought the graphics were actually pretty good, and some of the levels have some nice detail to them.
So in terms of player controls, the controls are quite extensive for a racing simulator, mainly because you have more variation of movement in a drone than you would say a car, such as yaw and pitch and roll. I initially started up with a keyboard, but quickly felt it was worth testing with a controller. I connected up an Xbox controller to my PC and it worked really well. I found the controller gave more feedback than the keyboard, and also with how twitchy the drone movements are, especially on the fast drones, the controller's twin joysticks allow for much more precise and smoother movement. You can also really fine-tune the controls and sensitivity of them in the controls menu.
As you'd expect, this is not a game that's recommended to be played on a keyboard, but as I don't have a controller at the moment, I thought I'd give it a go, and also just to give some contrast from Dav's point of view where he was using a controller. With the controls set to easy, the movement is quite straightforward, and I found it best to use WASD for acceleration / deceleration and yaw, and the number pad buttons for pitch and roll. If you don't have a number pad on your keyboard, you could try using the direction arrows as an alternative, which I'm sure will work just as well. When set to intermediate, it is massively harder to control as you don't have stability control, altitude hold or angle limiter, and I only just managed to get to grips with this option after a few hours. On Pro mode, it's virtually impossible to control on a keyboard and would likely take many hours to even be able to complete a race using this option. Overall, I would recommend a controller for this one.
So in terms of game modes, there's a ton of content here. The Let's Fly submenu contains solo racing against the clock or racing PvE with up to 5 bots. There's also a search and destroy where you can pop balloons around the maps against the clock, and many more other modes as well. There's tournament mode where you can play PvP online and also multiplayer mode for offline PvP. All the modes contain a ton of maps and courses to explore, along with around 20 pre-made drones to choose from. There's also a build and modify your own drone mode along with a maps editor.
The game features a variety of different tracks to choose from, each with its own unique challenges. Some tracks are set in urban environments, while others are set in more natural settings. There's also a huge variety of different drones to choose from, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. As Dav has touched on, the game has a variety of different game modes, including the career mode, multiplayer mode and practice mode. The career mode allows players to progress through a series of challenges and earn rewards. The multiplayer mode is self-explanatory and allows players to race against others online or offline. And the practice mode allows players to practice their flying skills on any of the available tracks. So in terms of the UI, I found the UI is clear and simple. The overlay in a race is limited, which is nice as there are no distractions. The menus are intuitive and easy to navigate to find what you need.
Yeah, so I felt as Dal did really. The UI is really nice and clean, which is especially what you want when you're flying a drone at high speed. A timer comes up in the top right of the screen if you're in a timed race, along with the number of laps. If you're in the seek and destroy maps, the timer and the number of balloons you've popped are shown centrally at the top of the screen. As Dale's pointed out, the game menus are really easy to navigate and well laid out. So in terms of music in the game, the music is really fitting, but it does get repetitive very quickly. The general drone sounds are really good and vary quite considerably between the different drone models.
I did find the music is quite generic sounding and does get a bit repetitive, but generally fits the style of the game well with a nice modern soundtrack. The drones themselves sound realistic enough and each have slightly different rotor sounds to them. They obviously do all sound somewhat similar, but it's nice that the devs put some variety in there. So in terms of bugs and glitches, it generally ran well for me, but I did have a random crash to desktop when exiting the game at one point. Luckily I'd finished the race, so it didn't really cause me any hassle.
Yeah, so for me I didn't come across any bugs or glitches in the game and it ran really well generally. So to sum up things I liked about the game, I've never played a drone racing game before, so I can't compare this to any others out there, but I really enjoyed this one. The sort of game you can easily pick up, whiz around for a while and put the game down again. Once I got a handle on controls and how twitchy they were, I began to enjoy the various modes, especially the search and destroy modes. Talking about controls, the way each drone handles is surprisingly different. The adaptable, modifiable control system opens it up even further, which is really cool. You can really fine tune your perfect drone the way you like. There's a ton of content in the game, so you could spend hours racing the maps and finding the fastest ways to beat them and improving on your times, etc. The range of maps was really cool and the tools to create your own opens up endless possibilities.
So in terms of things I liked about the game, once you get the hang of the controls, the game is rewarding and provides a genuinely realistic feeling of flying drones at high speed. There's a huge variety of different drones to play with and a nice amount of varied tracks, all with different challenges to their layout. The physics are very well done and there's a huge amount of customization of the physics and controls. It also has a very good tutorial. The game starts with this and teaches you the basics of drone racing, including how to control the movement of the drone, how to navigate through obstacles, and most importantly, how to avoid crashing.
So in terms of things I didn't like about the game, the music, although not bad generally, was quite repetitive throughout the game. The graphics were very so-so and could have been a bit better in my opinion. I really liked the search and destroy mode, but there was only 3 built-in maps. There was a map builder for these types of maps, but I felt there could have been more maps in the base mix really.
In terms of things I didn't like, well, it is one of those games that's very difficult to master. The game is challenging, especially trying to play it on a keyboard, which I wouldn't really recommend, and it will take some time to master the controls and learn how to fly the drone effectively. There isn't a huge amount of variety in terms of gameplay due to it being a simulator game, and so you're really going to have to be a fan of drone racing to get the most out of this one.
So in terms of missed opportunities, do you think there's anything in this, Dale?
Well, it would have been nice to have an option in the main menu to have the camera default at either first person or third person. As it is, it defaults to first person and you have to manually change this in a race to third person mode. The only problem is you can't do this before starting the race, so you have to pause and change it manually once the race starts. This is really odd and frustrating just to change the view option.
So in terms of scores, what do you think on this one, Dale?
Overall, this is a great game for anyone who loves drones or really any type of racing game. Challenging but rewarding and a lot of fun. If you're looking for a game that will test your skills and keep you entertained, then this is one for you. Being a simulator, it is of course quite linear with its gameplay, but if you're a fan of flying drones, this one will give you the opportunity to not only have some fun practicing your skills, but also put you up against other players to test how good you really are. In conclusion, I'm giving this one a 7.5 out of 10.
So for me, I really enjoyed this game. It's a good racer that can be picked up and put down quite easily. It has a ton of content built in, no pay to unlock this kind of bullshit, which I hate in a lot of modern games. And this is quite addictive, especially once you get your drone set up how you like it, set some lap times down in the mode and try improving on the times. Very little got under my skin with this one. I think the music could have been more varied and the graphics were a bit so-so, but these are nitpicking really, so for me it's a recommendation and an 8.5 out of 10.
Well guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment, hit that bell icon to be notified when we upload a new video, and we'll see you in the next one.